Hey everyone, welcome to Cross the Ditch and See. My name is Laura and I'm so glad you're here today. Today we're going to be working in the big garden. I'm going to work to get the rows set up, and since it is quickly getting dark outside, I'm going to come back tomorrow and get my green beans and my okra planted out there. So let's get started. So my neighbor was nice enough, this is his yard, but he was nice enough to come out here and till the garden up for me. A lot of people don't believe in tilling, and that is each person's opinion. I have no till beds in my yard, and this garden is tilled in. For a garden this size, and because it is surrounded by grass and I'm not out here every day meticulously managing it, tilling works. I grew up on a farm. They till the gardens every year. The garden produced just as good as a no-till garden does. So I have no judgment on anyone, whether they choose to till or where they choose to do a no-till bed. So just want to put that out there. However, I did want to show you the garlic. It'll soon be ready to harvest. And the way to know when garlic is ready to harvest is when the green starts to turn yellow, starts to die back, and it flops over, and that's when you know it's time to harvest the garlic. But for right now, I'm going to set up a pole on the end of this bed and stretch a string to a pole on the other end of the bed, and I'm going to make just some small hills and try to make them as straight as possible so it'll kind of mark my areas for planting. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take this broken rod that I have at my house and some twine. You can use any type of stick, any type of string, honestly, and do this. But I'm just going to tie the string around this rod and just secure it the best I can. Of course, the moment I sit down, the gnats decide to get right in my face. And then I'm going to do the same thing to a second one. And what I want to do is I'm going to stretch this string from one end of the garden to the other, and that way it's kind of used as a marker to hopefully get my rows as straight as I can. You don't have to have straight rows to have a good garden. It's all about aesthetics, and also, you know, kind of helps maximize your space. And that's what I try to do out here, is get as much bang for my buck, I guess you could say, even though I don't have buck involved in this. But get as much out of this garden as I possibly can. So having straight rows and getting things spaced out, this will help me do that so I can plant as much as I possibly can over here. So you see, I have a stick here and I have one right there on the other end, and you can kind of see the shadow of the string going across. And it may not be perfectly in line because I didn't measure, other than I took my foot and I put it at the edge of the garden and stepped in just one step, like having my heel on the edge of the grass, stepping in. But it's at least going to provide me somewhat of a straight line to go by. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to just take my shovel and just kind of slide it across to make like a little rut next to it. And then I'm going to take that dirt and shovel it towards the string. Another way you can do this is set up two, and that will actually be your row marker. So you would take your shovel and go down this side, and go down, if you had another stick right here, go down the other side on the outside of the stick and just throw the dirt between the two sticks, making a row. There are tools out there that you can use to till rows in and form rows, handheld tools and machine tools, but I'm just going to use my hands, these two sticks, and string to do it. That way we don't spend money on tools. So use what you got, but hopefully it'll make more sense once you see me do it. So I'm going to put you on regular speed when I first start doing it, and then as I progress throughout the garden, I'll put you on a time lapse. It's just kind of go down the side here and kind of scrape up this dirt and push it towards the middle where this string is. You can do this with a hoe or any type of garden tool you may have. Try to keep my stuff as even as I can. And then I'll come on the other side of it and do something similar. Just kind of come next to it, rake the dirt up, and then just kind of rake it towards the middle. It's not perfect. It may not be pretty, but it just creates a little bit of a row. So you kind of get the idea, and you see, hopefully you can see visually a little bit of a healed row formed there. And like I said, you don't have to do this. I didn't last year. I just planted straight in the dirt. But this year I wanted to try the healed rows, kind of like what my parents did growing up, just to see how it does for me this year. The string gives me a bit of a marker, so I'll have hopefully straight rows, at least somewhat straight rows, and also the healing of it will hopefully keep drainage issues down, because this space is on a bit of a hill. Going that way, it slopes down towards the ditch that is at the back of the garden. When we have heavy rains, we have a lot of issues with erosion through here. And so last fall, after I had planted a lot of my fall or winter stuff out here, particularly like the seeds for my beets, I had planted out the garlic, we had broccoli, cauliflower, all that stuff out here. A lot of it got eroded and washed out. We didn't get any beets because all the seeds got washed out, and some other things it had damaged. A lot of the broccoli and cauliflower that I had planted out here. But hopefully with the healing, it'll give these little ruts between the rows, it'll give water kind of a map or like a drainage point. And so maybe the water will be directed more towards these ruts between the hills and drain down between them, and the hills will stay more upright. In turn, the seed and the plants a little bit more protected. That's what I'm thinking. I hope that's how it works. If not, we'll try another plan when we get this garden ready for the fall. So I'm going to put you on time lapse now while I continue to work down marking these rows. Hopefully this will give you a little bit better visualization of what's going on. So you can see I have a hill here, like a little rut, and then another hill here, and I'll have a little bit more pronounced rut right there once I go for that third row. But I'm just going to keep doing that all the way across the garden. So we'll have these rows marked out for when I come out here tomorrow and start planting. I don't even know that I'm going to get all this done tonight, but hopefully we'll have the rows done so it'll be obvious for where we're planting. We plant on the rows, and then the ruts between will be a walk space, and also kind of a place for water to drain when it comes out of the grass and goes into the garden. Hopefully it'll kind of route itself into those little gully washes, I guess you could say, between the rows. And if you're wondering why there is probably 2.5 to 3 feet worth of space, and not measurable feet, but my feet between the stick and the end of the garden bed, I want to leave space for mowing, and also down the sides of the bed I'm going to plant flowers, sunflowers, zinnias, things like that. That way there'll be a pop of color. It'll be one more thing to attract pollinators to the garden, and it's pretty. Who don't like flowers? So I'm going to continue working out here. I'll show you a tool that I have added to my toolbox, and it is this contraption. I can't remember the exact name, the formal name of it. People call it a stirrup hoe, a horseshoe hoe, all sorts of names. But one thing I have issues with in the big garden is weeds. I don't get out here as much as I should. I should be coming out here daily just to do a quick chop for weeds, but it's always been really time consuming to do that. And a lot of times I was doing it by hand because just using a traditional hoe was frustrating. But this, if you don't have one, you need to add it to your garden toolbox, because this thing grabs that stubborn grass right there and just rips it straight out the ground, cuts it, pulls the root, and in no time. And I want to show you how it works. So just to give you a quick demonstration of how this works, you can use it flipped this way or flipped upside down just for raking across the grass. This way works really well to like quickly clean. But if you really need to get in there and chop something that's just being stubborn like this don't want to come out. So I can flip it over and cut in there, and this pulls the grass out. Cuts it right out of the ground. I absolutely love this thing. This has been a game changer when weeding this garden. So if you don't have a stirrup hoe in your garden toolbox, I recommend you get one. This one was $25. Seeing as how I left the tag on it, this one is called a weeding hoe. But a lot of people, if you type stirrup hoe in, this will come up. But I recommend putting this into your garden toolbox because it is a game changer. And you can control the angle so you can get between narrow passages. So like I've been using this to weed between my garlic. It works really well. I can control it. I don't hit my garlic, but I'm able to pull up the weeds that are growing between it. So if you don't have one, save you up 25 bucks and get you one, because this thing is a game changer. So I got 4 rows done. You can see them pretty good from this angle. 1, 2, 3, 4. You saw me use, in that last time lapse, I used both the stirrup hoe and the shovel. I discovered, just messing around on this third row, that when I came up next to the row that I had already healed, if I use the stirrup hoe in between here, pushing the dirt towards the new row, it actually created a more defined rut between the heels, between the rows, and I really like that. So that's what I did this next time, was come up on this side where I'd already healed this row, and I used my stirrup hoe pushing dirt towards the new row, my goodness. And then I took my shovel on the side that there is not a row at yet and pulled dirt in to really form that row. So I think it did a really good job. Definitely a very pronounced rut between them. Still good healing. So that's all I'm going to do for tonight. I'll come back out here tomorrow and try to get a few more done, and it may take me a couple days to finish everything, and then I'm just going to lightly wet it down and then start getting my stuff planted. Okay, so it has been a week. No, it did not take me a whole week to do this. It was just finding time to get back out here and get it done. But we have rows going all the way across. I did not do rows right here, obviously, because of the garlic, but I'll mound those rows up when I go to harvest our garlic, which will be very soon. So my game plan is, over here I am going to do bush beans. Over here on these rows I'm going to do okra. I'm going to have some flowers planted intermittently through there. On the ends here, both ends, far end and this end, I'm going to do some sunflowers for something pretty. I'm going to do loofah on that panel right there, and then I'm probably going to do a row or so of peppers in this garden. I may put something else out here, I don't know yet, but today I'm going to be planting green beans and okra. All right, got my helper out here with me, and here are the beans that I'm planting. I have Blue Lake Bush from Baker Creek. I have Burpee Clemson spineless okra. This is, when you think of okra, most people think of this kind. This is what I usually grow every year. I think next year I might try some different varieties just to see, but this year I'm just going to stick with what I know. Ooh. Fun stuff. Yep. All right, honeysuckle still blooming, sorry. Okay, and I'm gonna put some calendula out here. I'll probably do, honestly, I might do a whole row of calendula. I might do one row of calendula and a row of peppers right in the middle, and then, or I might do my calendula down the side. I don't know yet. We'll just see how it goes. I've got some pepper starts at the house I'll bring out here, but right now we are going to start planting our bush beans. And you don't have to do this. This just kind of helps the beans get a little bit of a head start. So last night before I went to bed, I just put some beans in a mason jar and put water in it so they could pre-soak. It's not a requirement to do that to plant your beans. However, it does, it can help speed germination, but it's not a necessity. Last year, some of my beans were soaked, some weren't, and they both germinated just fine. And then I did not soak my okra. I don't know that I've ever soaked my okra seed. I don't think I will. They do just fine planted straight in the ground. But first we're going to plant the beans. This says, and I'm reading it through the camera, sprout 7 to 14 days, ideal temp 70 to 80 degrees. Oh, that'll be just fine this upcoming week because it's going to be warm. Plant 1/2 inch to 1 inch deep, 4 inches apart. Minimum sun 8 to 12 hours a day. This bed over here, this garden gets plenty of sun. So let's get to planting these. I feel like it's just watching, waiting for the plants to grow. So I'm done with green beans. This outer row, I don't have anything planted in yet. This row, and this row, 3 complete rows of the bush green beans. And then this row, about a little over a third the way down to right where the little blue bucket is planted. And that was all of my green bean seed. I feel like that will be plenty for us to have fresh as well as preserve. The rest of this row I am going to do out with calendula. So I have calendula prints from Haas Tools, and then I have a flashback mix from Baker Creek. So I'm going to finish out that row right there with calendula. Okay, so this garden is mostly planted, the big garden. This first row right here that runs just off the grass line, I don't have anything there yet. I'm probably gonna do flowers or something there. Let's see, this row, and half of this row are the bush beans. The rest of this row is not zinnias, calendula. And I actually ran out of the calendula seed that I showed you earlier, so about halfway between that row, kind of right in here, I actually planted strawberry blonde calendula, which is really pretty. So looking forward to seeing that. And then let's see, nothing, beans, half flowers. There's nothing on this row right here. I'm going to do peppers down that road, most likely jalapenos, because I want to make more cowboy candy. And then on this end, this full row all the way to the end, and then these 2, 3 partial rows, 1, 2, 3, they go all the way up to the garlic. That is the Clemson spineless okra. About where this T-post is to there, on the outside row next to that fence, is empty. I don't have anything there yet because I'm going to put probably a loofah right there. And once I harvest the garlic on the other end, then we will finish out the row there, and I'll probably put some more okra there, or I might put flowers or something. I don't know. We'll see how the mood strikes when the time comes. But there is the big garden. Well, big garden is mostly planted. I'll come back out here with my jalapeno transplants and put them in the garden on that row. And in the outside row, I'll decide what kind of flowers I want to put on it, and then it will be 100% complete. So I look forward to sharing the progress as the big garden grows this season, as well as its harvest. And most of all, I look forward to sharing that harvest with my family and my neighbors. Well, that is going to be it for today's video. Thank you so much for joining me. Please come back to see me again, and I really hope you have a blessed day.